Translator, Dark Angel. Niu's eyes were locked dead on Feng Luo, unblinking as though they had nailed him to the spot. From that human, she had sensed a hatred toward Ling Han so thick it could be cut with a blade, and at once her own killing intent surged like a tide. She kept staring at Feng Luo's neck, weighing the thought of sinking her teeth into it. One bite to end it cleanly, one bite to settle that human for good. Ling Han reached out, scooped Hu Niu up into his arms, and said, "He's too dirty." Hu Niu was plainly unwilling, shrinking and twisting in Ling Han's hold. Yet the fierce killing intent in her eyes still brimmed, sharp and overflowing. "Pah!" Ling Han stamped his foot down, and a Tunsa earth-shaking howl burst from Feng Luo's throat, his mouth filled with blood in an instant. He opened his mouth and spat out more than 10 fragments of teeth. It looked as if the entire set of teeth in his mouth had been smashed to pieces by the crushing force of that single stomp from Ling Han. The agony drove Feng Luo to tears and sniveling. The pain drilled straight into his heart and bored through to the marrow of his bones. Yet because Ling Han had finally lifted his foot, he could, with great difficulty, struggle up to stand. As his eyes swept across the surroundings, he felt that everyone here looked detestable to him. Indeed, they had all watched as Ling Han's stomp shattered his whole mouthful of teeth, and not a single one lifted a hand to help, not even a shred. Damn them! They deserved to die. However, he was well aware that the current him did not have the ability to oppose the people here, so he could only cast his eyes over them one by one with bitter hatred before abruptly turning around to leave. Naturally, the person he hated the most was Ling Han. He would definitely not let this matter end here. Wei Hele was also unable to continue staying here, so he hurriedly followed in Feng Luo's footsteps and departed. Qi Yongye and the others all frowned. Ling Han's actions were the same as forging a blood feud between himself and the Feng brothers. This was not something that could be smoothed over easily. But in truth, the moment Ling Han had stepped on Feng Luo, this feud had already been nailed in place, and Ling Han had already been firmly set on the opposing side of the Feng brothers. As long as Ling Han continued to stay in the Imperial City, then no matter how overbearing Feng Yan was, he still would not dare to take action against Ling Han. Ling Han held no fear. In his last life, he had been a powerful warrior of Heaven Tier. Though now he had to begin again from the start, did he really need to dread 2 such minor characters? He would eventually kill the 2 of them. "Ha-ha! The auction is about to begin. Let's go in," Qi Yongye said with a laugh. This time, thanks to Ling Han, they had managed to suppress Wen Haixing and his companions, so he was extremely happy. "Let's head in together," Li Xichan suggested. "En?" He Junchen, Qi Yongye, and the others all revealed expressions of disbelief. Was this truly Li Xichan? The twin pearls of the Imperial City, both stunning, both devastatingly beautiful. That was how Lu Yutong and Li Xichan were known within the Imperial City. Li Xichan was not like Lu Yutong. The latter carried the image of an icy beauty, always keeping a distance from those around her, a boundary none could trespass. Li Xichan, on the other hand, was gentle in manner, yet beneath that gentleness lay a core of ice. Though she was polite and well-mannered to everyone, she likewise exuded an aura that discouraged others from drawing close. And now, she had actually invited Ling Han to join her of her own accord. To Qi Yongye and the others, this scene was utterly inconceivable. They were all wondering if they had misheard, or if their eyes had blurred and they had mistaken someone else for Li Xichan. But He Junchen's expression immediately darkened. From the very start, he had disliked Ling Han, and now it seemed the girl he admired had some kind of unknown relations with Ling Han, causing a fierce jealousy to rise within his heart. "All right," Ling Han agreed, not thinking too deeply about it. The entire group entered the Spiritual Treasures Pavilion. In this Imperial City, Qi Yongye's reputation was clearly not as useful as Li Xichan's, for Li Xichan actually had a private room, which she led the others to. The room could accommodate 10 people, so it was not too tight a fit for them. He Junchen began to inquire about Ling Han's identity in a roundabout way. Which faction could such an awe-inspiring person have come from? But when he found out that Ling Han actually came from Grey Cloud Town, a town under the jurisdiction of Dayuan City, he was instantly stunned. How could that be? A major, important character like Wu Songlin actually wanted to invite Ling Han to tea? He could not understand it. He truly could not understand it. Qi Yongye and the others, on the other hand, had a faint idea of what was going on. Because back in Dayuan City, there were already 3 black-grade alchemists who had gathered around Ling Han. Though Wu Songlin's status was far higher than Zhu Heixin and the rest, it was still easier for them to accept such an inconceivable matter. Meanwhile, Ling Han was indifferent to what the others were thinking. The only thing he was focused on now was seeing what good things he would be able to encounter in this auction. After 10,000 years, it appeared that many pill formula had been lost to the currents of time. For example, a treasure like the dark moon grass had actually been reduced to being used to concoct the purple origin pill. Then chances were that spiritual medicines of immense value might appear, yet be used in an extremely wasteful way. Mere moments later, the auction began. Because today's auction was only the small-scale one held every month, though there were many participants, not many of them could truly pay vast sums for the items on offer. As a result, the prices of the auctioned items all fell within a reasonable range. Meanwhile, Ling Han was extremely astonished, because some alchemical pills he viewed as utterly low-grade could actually be sold at exorbitant prices. These people were filthy rich, yet very foolish. He secretly pondered that perhaps it was time for him to concoct some alchemical pills. Though there were still monetary notes worth 100,000+ in his pockets, looking at the generous way the people here flung money around recklessly, a mere 100,000+ silver coins truly could not buy much. I don't know how many alchemists are present here today, but the upcoming merchandise is truly a valuable medicinal ingredient. The auctioneer exerted himself fully upon the stage. He waved a hand, and a beautiful female attendant stepped onto the stage carrying a tray. Upon the tray were 3 herbs, and if one looked closely, they were actually glittering like stars. "Second star grass," someone immediately called out. "Second star grass is actually on auction. This is indeed a valuable treasure for alchemists, but for martial artists, this second star grass does not have much value." The auctioneer cleared his throat and said, "That's right. This is indeed the second star grass that can be used to concoct the refreshing pill. I believe most would know the usefulness of the refreshing pill. It can refresh an individual's state of mind. For a martial artist, this indeed does not have much value, but for an alchemist, its value is beyond measure. For a martial artist, when their spirit was exhausted, they would be unable to continue circulating their origin power and cultivating. Thus, the value of the refreshing pill to a martial artist was only to extend the time he could cultivate each day a little longer. But who would have so many refreshing pills to squander? Even if he had 10, that only meant he could cultivate longer for 10 days. And what use was that? But for an alchemist, it was an entirely different matter. Controlling flames exhausted one's mental energy to an immense degree, yet some alchemical pills needed a very long time to be refined. If the alchemist's mental energy ran out midway and he no longer had enough spiritual energy left, then what was to be done? It was precisely in such moments that the refreshing pill would reveal its worth. It would replenish the alchemist's spiritual and mental energy, allowing him to successfully concoct an alchemical pill he had initially been unable to complete. Thus, Li Si-chan's eyes immediately lit up. What alchemist dared to claim that their spiritual energy was abundant enough that they could concoct every single type of alchemical pill? Ling Han's eyes lit up as well. At the same time, an irrepressible urge to swear rose within him. That was second star grass, and it'd be used to concoct the second star pill. And what were the effects of the second star grass? To strengthen one's mental energy. One was used to replenish, and the other could be used to strengthen. How could they be the same? If it was merely replenishing, then it would work only one time. But if it was strengthening, then the effects were permanent. Moreover, even martial artists would scramble madly for the second star pill. And the value of the second star grass could not be compared to the value of a concocted second star pill. Ling Han shook his head inwardly. The field of alchemy had degraded far too much in this era. Previously, the dark moon grass had been used to concoct the purple origin pill, and now the second star grass was being squandered to concoct the refreshing pill. He said to Li Si-chan, "Girl, Let me have this second stargrass. Li Si-chan knew that Ling Han was also an alchemist, so it was not strange that he would want the second stargrass as well, but she needed it too. She could not help revealing a troubled expression. She could reject him, yet this was a person even her master respected. But if she agreed, then wouldn't that mean she would lose such a valuable medicinal ingredient? Seeing her expression, Ling Han leaned toward her and said in a low voice, "I can sell you a cultivation technique that will allow you to speed up the recovery of your mental energy." What? Li Si-chan forgot their surroundings as she suddenly yelled. Translated Editor Kurisu. It was a truth known to all under heaven, that aside from swallowing medicine to aid the meridians, only the slow grind of time could let one's spiritual energy recover little by little. And now Ling Han actually declared he wished to sell her a cultivation technique that could hasten the recovery of spiritual energy. How could she not be struck dizzy by such a thunderclap of shock? "Bastard! What did you do to Si-chan?" He Jun-chen roared at once, his whole face storm-dark with rage. When he saw the look of utter astonishment upon Li Si-chan's features, he immediately assumed Ling Han had taken advantage of her. He had long harbored a crush on Li Si-chan, and after witnessing the earlier intimate exchanges between Ling Han and Li Si-chan, he had already been profoundly displeased. Now he naturally could no longer hold back the resentment boiling in his chest. "It's none of your business. Go sit down somewhere," Ling Han said with lazy indifference. "How dare you?" He Jun-chen had already been extremely irritated by Ling Han's very presence. In that instant, fury flared, and he sprang up, ready to strike. "Elder brother disciple he? What are you doing?" Li Si-chan immediately stretched out an arm to block his advance, her beautiful face full of displeasure. That was only natural. If such a cultivation technique truly existed, one that could assist in the recovery of spiritual energy, then its value would be beyond measure, something that would drive all alchemists in this world mad with desire. You're actually defending him?" He Jun-chen's expression changed drastically. He had already been suspicious of the ambiguous relationship between Ling Han and Li Si-chan. Now that Li Si-chan was actually protecting Ling Han, it only deepened his suspicions. "You were the unreasonable one in the first place," Li Si-chan said, displeased. "I am unreasonable?" He Jun-chen nearly leapt on the spot, thinking, "You adulterous couple are already flirting so brazenly in public, and you still dare accuse me of being unreasonable? Idiot, shut up!" Ling Han saw that the bidding for the second stargrass had already begun. He quickly waved a hand at Li Si-chan and said, "Get me this second stargrass, and that cultivation technique will belong to you." He only had a little over 100,000 silver coins, far from enough to buy these 3 stalks of second star grass. So he could only pin his hopes on this rich woman, Li Si-chan. If it weren't for that, he would not have been selling off that spiritual energy replenishing cultivation technique. Even if it was merely a low-grade spiritual support technique, in the vicinity of Rain Country, it was still a priceless treasure. Li Si-chan's attention snapped back to him at once, and she asked, "You wouldn't be lying to me, right? What do you think?" Ling Han shot back. Li Si-chan pondered. Though this fellow was younger than she was, his ability had already been recognized and acknowledged by 2 black-grade high-level alchemists at the same time. It was unlikely he was making empty boasts. After all, the acknowledgement of those 2 alchemists was worth far more than a few dozen hundred thousands of silver coins. She nodded and immediately began to bid. As an alchemist, even if she was only yellow-grade mid-level at present, the wealth she possessed was still astonishing. She easily drove her bid up to the exorbitant sum of over 1,000,000 silver coins. And it still looked as effortless as lifting a sleeve. Ling Han nodded to himself. Looks like this girl's rate of success in concocting pills was not low. That was why she had been able to accumulate such wealth. An alchemist being in a higher grade did not mean he would definitely be able to earn money, or earn big money, because this was affected by their success rate. For example, suppose medicinal ingredients cost 1,000,000 silver coins, and in theory, 30 alchemical pills could be produced from that amount of ingredients. The total worth of those 30 pills would be 9,000,000 coins. So, With a 100% successful concoction rate, an alchemist could earn 8 million coins, an eightfold profit over his costs. But if the alchemist's success rate was only 10%, then the 3 alchemical pills produced would sell for only 90,000 silver coins. Not only would the alchemist not profit, he would have lost 100,000 coins. The higher the grade of the alchemical pill, the lower the rate of successful concoction. So don't assume alchemy was a profession that raked in great fortune. Whether it was profitable still depended on the alchemist, and the amount of money earned differed from one alchemist to another. For example, the 3 fire guide that Ling Han had invented in his last life could greatly increase the rate of success, sparking a revolution in the field of alchemy. It also earned Ling Han the revered name of Alchemy Emperor. Though Li Si-chan was only a yellow-grade mid-level alchemist, if her success rate was extremely high, she too could earn a great deal of money. Of course, the higher the grade of alchemical pill, the more money could be earned when paired with a high success rate. For example, when Ling Han in his last life had concocted Earth-grade alchemical pills, no matter how much money you offered, you still would not be able to buy any. You had to trade natural treasures, high-grade cultivation techniques, or martial techniques in exchange for a few Earth-grade alchemical pills. While he was lost in such thought, Li Si-chan had already successfully secured the 3 stalks of second star grass, paying the lofty price of 1,200,000 silver coins. After all, there weren't many alchemists here, and even those present were clearly not as wealthy as Li Si-chan. Ling Han smiled broadly. If it had been his last life, it would have been impossible to purchase such a priceless item with worthless scraps like gold and silver coins. Spending a mere 1,000,000+ silver coins to obtain it, this was an enormous profit. Very quickly, the staff of Spiritual Treasures Pavilion delivered the 3 stalks of second star grass to them. "When you give me that cultivation technique, I'll give you the second star grass," Li Si-chan said. The corners of Ling Han's lips twitched, and he said, "Do you think I would go back on a promise to a little girl like you? Don't act so old and mature. You're 1 year younger than me." Li Si-chan pointed out she truly feared Ling Han might shamelessly exploit his younger age to trick her out of her money. After all, this was wealth she had earned through her own hard effort. "Fine then, let's return to the academy immediately," Ling Han said, scarcely able to wait to concoct the second star pill. The sooner he swallowed the pill, the sooner his spiritual energy would rise, and the longer he could cultivate each day. If this extra bit of time accumulated over the long run, it would ultimately lead to a very significant increase in his cultivation. "All right," Li Si-chan nodded. She, too, wanted to get her hands on such a cultivation technique as soon as possible. Ling Han carried Hunyu, and the 3 of them departed together. Qi Yongye and the others snickered in unison, wearing knowing expressions. Only He Junchen's face sank like dark water. Within him, a fierce killing intent toward Ling Han had already taken shape. After all, Li Si-chan was not only one of the twin stunning pearls of the Imperial City, she herself was an impressive alchemist with a future of limitless possibilities. If he could marry such a woman, then whether for himself or for the clan behind him, it would be a colossal gain. This was his woman, and he would mercilessly kill anyone who threatened his position as her man. Ling Han and Li Si-chan soon returned to the academy. When they arrived at the place Ling Han was staying, he told Hunyu to go play by herself while he began to impart a spiritual energy replenishing cultivation technique to Li Si-chan. The name of this technique was Major Origin Spirit Replenishing Technique. This was not Ling Han's own invention. Instead, it was an exceedingly common spiritual support technique in the field of alchemy from his last life. It was highly effective in recovering spiritual energy for any alchemist below Gushing Spring Tier. But once an alchemist stepped into Gushing Spring Tier, its effects would begin to wane. Thus, Ling Han had no real misgivings or reluctance, and he taught it directly to Li Si-chan. Otherwise, she would have to perform 3 kowtows and 9 bows, completing the formal rites of becoming his disciple, before he would be willing to teach her the true art of alchemy. But to Li Si-chan, this cultivation technique was beyond description, priceless. Her entire body trembled, for she was simply too overwhelmed with excitement. Can I teach this major origin spirit replenishing technique to my master?" she asked, extremely nervous. "All right, then I'll sell it for a rough 10 million." Ling Han nodded without hesitation. "When you sold it to me, the price was only 1,200,000. Li Chan protested, though she knew Wu Songlin could easily afford such a sum. As his disciple, she naturally wanted to safeguard her master's interests. "That's because you're a beauty, so I gave you a friendly price. Your master..." Sigh. Not pleasing to the eye at all, so of course I'll sell it to him at the original price. Ling Han laughed. Li Chan rolled her eyes at him, yet because Ling Han had complimented her beauty in a roundabout way, she still felt very happy.